behalf of all the Tibetans, a very warm and hearty Tashidele to all my Tibetan brothers and sisters who have gathered here, and especially to our supporters who are here with us today to commemorate and observe this very significant 63rd Tibetan Uprising Day here in London. My name is Tenzin Sangmo. I'm from Bristol. I'm a registered nurse in the NHS and a Tibetan who always stands up for justice and fairness, as I strongly believe injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. First of all, before I start with anything else, I want to share my sadness and solidarity with the people of Ukraine in light of the unprovoked and barbaric aggression and invasion from Russia. In the 21st century, a time where we prioritize the use of dialogue to resolve problems, seeing many innocent civilians losing their lives and public infrastructures being destroyed is heartbreaking. I want to say out loud, with my hands on my heart, we stand with you, and we are praying for you. Tibetan people faced the same fate 70 years ago under the brutal and illegal Chinese occupation. At the time in 1959, there was no social media to spread information about horrifying events taking place and no accessibility to the humanitarian support that we see in today's world. Our struggle still continues. The inhuman torture, human rights abuses, and environmental destructions in Tibet has not stopped yet. The situation has worsened and is worsening with the ongoing cultural genocide and the sinicization of Tibet by Xi Jinping's regime. I want to thank the Tibetan community here in UK for giving me this opportunity to address the event here in front of every one of you. In remembrance of the undoubted bravery, courage, and valor of our Tibetan martyrs who sacrificed their life for the freedom and sovereignty of Tibet, I salute and I say, you all will never be forgotten. The flame you left is in me and in all of us, and will keep on burning for generations to come. Today, 10th March, on this day in 1959, Tibet was forcefully invaded by the Chinese military regime. Thousands of Tibetans surrounded Nubulinka, the summer place of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in defiance of the illegal Chinese occupation. The fear of His Holiness being assassinated or abducted by Chinese officials triggered nationwide protests, which culminated in the Tibetan National Uprising in Lhasa. During and after the uprising, the Chinese government brutally cracked down on Tibetan resistance, massacred and fired indiscriminately at thousands of our Tibetan men, women, children, monks and nuns. The scene was like what we see today in the Ukraine war zone. There were rivers of blood, corpses everywhere on the streets, people lying wounded with no medical assistance, and thousands of our monasteries were demolished, and our holy Buddhist scriptures were burnt. Those who survived were arrested. Were put in dungeons, tortured, hanged, were killed mercilessly. Those who escaped Tibet ran short of food, with no safe passage to India, and many died on the border. These stories were painful and heartbreaking to hear. My late parents and some of your parents also went through such treacherous experiences, hardship and suffering. These are sad but real stories. The thousands of Tibetan women, led by Pamukusang, who protested the regime on the 12th of March, show us the courage of Tibetan women in our struggle for freedom. His Holiness, at the age of 23 at that time, was forced to flee to India, with thousands of Tibetans followed him. Tibet even today suffers harsh human rights abuses. When the 2008 Olympics took place in Beijing, the Chinese government promised to improve the human rights situation inside Tibet, but nothing has improved. Tibetans continue to suffer. This year, although there was a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing 2022 Olympics from several countries with mounting pressure from different organizations, the situation inside Tibet has remained the same and even worsened. 158 Tibetans have immolated since 2009 to protest the brutal Chinese occupation. Sinicization of Tibetan culture and religion, imposing laws to send Tibetan children to Chinese boarding school, enforcing cohesive assimilation policies, and the recently reported self-immolation of a famous 25-year-old Tibetan singer, Sawanobu, on 25th February in front of the Potala Palace, all demonstrate that the Chinese occupation and oppression is severe and unbearable for Tibetans. The imprisonment of Gendin Hunduk, for instance, for raising questions about the Sinicization of Tibetan Buddhism. Imprisonment of singer Tundu Thakpa for singing backhand